our work right now on the planet is to bring honoring and sanctity to the invisible just as much as the visible. The invisible results are things like feeling good, things like feeling connected, things like our health, our well-being, a feeling of joy, pleasure.
Embodiment can't be faked. Once you're in an open state where you actually can see through a clear lens, you know, you're not clouded by fear, you're not clouded by the amygdala, you're not clouded by society's news and all the fear-based stuff, and you're just with you. Then you get to decide where you think we actually are.
It is possible to navigate pain with grace.
Energy is information. We're here to experience the full spectrum.
That worthiness is hard for you. There's nothing wrong with you. It is a muscle that we kind of have to learn how to access. You are not disempowered, and you have power in every area of your life all the time.
I believe that chronic illness is an opportunity for us to heal.
Health, it's a choice. Listening to your body if you so choose.
My prayer for the world would be that they would know the infinite love of God.
Aloha and welcome to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast, formerly known as the Embodied Healing Self Podcast, with your host, jenmons. Join me each week for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around awakening to your soul purpose through 5-element well-being. Thank you so much for joining in. Hello and welcome back, my podcast family. I'm so deeply honored to be sharing another week with you again. And in this moment, I am just sitting in reflection and gratitude for the experiences that have been provided for me to lead and guide over the past couple weeks through retreats. And I wanted to take a moment to share with you one of the big takeaways from all of the ladies at both of the retreats. The theme that I witnessed over and over again in the shares and the praise and the testimonial was realizing how much we deeply desire connection. So I want to invite you to just sit with that for a moment. Because connection could be to anything or anyone or any place. It could be the feeling of missing connection to God. It could be feeling disconnected from your husband or wife or partner in a marriage. It could be the feeling of disconnection from your own body. And this could show up in the way that you choose to nourish yourself or don't nourish yourself. Whether or not you're drinking enough water, whether or not you're sabotaging your body with alcohol and drugs and junk food. And maybe it's feeling disconnected from your children when they become teenagers or when they get to the age where they leave home. You hope that you'll stay connected and feel connected. And at the same time, it's time to trust and let them spread their wings and fly and be their own person. Maybe you feel disconnected from joy. I found this theme quite a bit the past few weeks was how many women are actually seeking joy, and so grateful to remember that archetype, the maiden that was so playful when they were younger, or the jokes, or just the laughing and the playfulness and vulnerability and just pure joy, not in the way where we're constantly seeking it outside of ourselves with, vacations and shopping and chocolate and things like that. Those things are joyful as well, but more about joy in the moment. And lastly, what came through as I hosted 2 retreats these past few weekends, one was the North Star Collective, which is my 6-month group coaching program, where we go through the 12 pillars of soul illumination that lead to 5-element wealth. We come together at the end of the 6 months for a small intimate retreat close to my house in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. And then secondly, co-facilitated a retreat at the Kashya Ashram in Sebastian, Florida for 4 days called the Embodied Feminine Retreat, where we went super deep into the releasing of all of the things holding us back, the revealing of our gifts, the receiving of love and joy and all the things that we thought we were missing, and then stepping into the embodiment of what it is that our intention is to move forward. It was a absolutely just beautiful and powerful weekend, full of grace and laughter and joy and tears and movements and fire ceremony and goddess ceremony and chanting and just, I think my co-facilitator Amy said it best: I don't need magic when I have women. And that is exactly how the past few weekends have really landed for me. And I have spent the last 6 months doing quite a few private retreats, which I also love because it allows space to go deeper. You may remember my tour across the country, starting with Costa Rica and then from Florida to California, making a few stops for a few private clients and retreats. But there's something really, really powerful and magical when groups of women come together. Total complete strangers. So one weekend we had a retreat where women had been together, 7 women had been together for 6 months. And then the next retreat, complete strangers came together and were willing to step right in and show themselves wholly. They were willing to share the pieces of them that they'd been hiding, whether it be the shadow aspect or the gifts, the beauty, owning their queen, owning their crone, owning their wisdom, owning their joy, owning their beauty, owning their sexiness, the whole thing. It was just absolutely beautiful. And then owning their anger and their frustration and their sadness and the pain and the shame and the regret and all the things that we all carry. It's just so much to carry that weight. And we do it for so many people as women. We do it for our husbands, our spouses, our children, our coworkers, for our parents. We are carrying a heavy, heavy burden in hopes that it will make the world a better place. But actually, what makes the world a better place is you being the best version of you, which means giving yourself permission to release that healing and allow the facilitation of gentle healing through multidimensional layers, physically with nourishment, through your mindset and your thoughts, and reprogramming through the reticular activating system, which I love journaling for. I have a journaling membership you can check out, 13 Moons in Daily Devotion. Emotional empowerment through shadow work. It's super powerful. Spiritual growth by remembering your connection to God, to grace. And one of my most favorite quotes that I love to share with people is, "What you're seeking is seeking you," by Rumi. In fact, the very thing that you think you're missing in your life, you already are. You're just not looking at yourself in that way. I know it sounds easier said than done, because it is easier said than done, because it does take commitment, it does take devotion, it takes the willingness, it takes courage, and if you have support, then you're gonna grow leaps and bounds and it's gonna be easier. And it feels good to be supported and witnessed, because sometimes the transformations are so big, you're like, did that really happen? And it feels really good to have somebody there to remind you, okay, this is where you started and this is where you are now. Because so often, as soon as we reach our goal or result or whatever that is, we're on to the next thing. And I used to work with women for a year-long private coaching program, and even in my group coaching. And now I break it down into 2 6 months, because there's just so many transformations in a year. I mean, literally, like jobs and financial abundance and welcoming love and babies and the whole thing. That year is a long time, especially if you're in the energy of being committed to change and to growth. Once you say yes and open up to that space, your whole world begins to shift. It's like it's a catalyst. Your yes, the embodiment of your yes, is a catalyst for a change. And having somebody by your side to support and guide you is like the person walking in front of you with the torch, saying, I got you, I'm going to hold your vision for you, I'm going to lead the way for you, let's do this. What is your vision? What do you want? What are your hopes? What are your dreams? What are you afraid of? Okay, I got you, let's go. And that's what I really see as my role as a coach and a mentor. Is I love it. And it feels really good to know that I embody that, just witnessing the strength and the grace and the blessings that both of my daughters embody in their lives. I mean, it's just truly amazing. For those of you that know, my older daughter, 16, recently decided that she needed a little more than what was provided in our local school system, and she was ready to move. Now, I live in Florida, move to the big island of Hawaii, and attend an international college prep school. And she's just loving it. She has a big vision for the world. By the way, she refuses to use a cell phone, so we're like, had to buy a phone card. We're writing letters. It's like I'm living in the 90s as a parent. It's takes a lot of trust to do that when there's 6 time zones between you and your daughter and she doesn't have a phone. And she's just so happy. She's in a place where she's supported and the teachers are eager to teach, and she gets to do turtle tagging and permaculture, and she's doing yoga every day and meditation and leading breath work and scuba diving, getting certified, going to Spain this spring. And then my younger daughter wants to be a pro surfer, and she is well on her way at 13 years old, has already won some pro surf contest, and is now, 4 years later after surfing, almost making it to the finals, making it to the semifinals in qualifying series events, which is basically the top women in the world competing for the Challenger Series to get on the world tour, which is only 17 top women in the world. So just, mind-blowing that when you put your hard work, commitment, and trust in one place, you will be met with blessings. You will be met with more than you could have imagined. You will. And it starts with connection, trusting and knowing and owning. Because most of us are really just getting in our own way. Like 99.99999% of the time. You know it's true. So just breathe that in for a moment. Ask yourself, what would it look and feel like if I just gave myself permission to just be and do the thing that I want? If I gave myself permission to be happy, if I gave myself permission to be healthy, to be wealthy, to be connected. And so I want to share about connection this week because connection fuels us. It fuels us, and this is why this matters. After witnessing women come together, so my takeaway from this experience is that I've been doing a lot of private retreats. Women have been flying to me. We do a really deep 1-day retreat, my private clients, and I had been traveling to them. And I love to do that, but really I feel from what I've witnessed and experienced that the real gold is when we come together because it's just magical to witness other women and to realize how alike we are. Our experiences on the outside look very different. There will be experiences that you cannot relate to. If you've heard my stories, you probably won't relate to my stories, but what we can relate to is what it feels like inside. And that's what connects us and brings us together. And then we start to realize that we're so much more alike than we are different, and we're all really connected because we're created from divine love. We're created from God. We're children of God, is my opinion, what I believe and know to be true. So connection fuels us. It's the relationship to everything in our lives. Relationship to your body, the relationship to the food you eat, the relationship to the music you listen to Mother Earth and taking care of her, to your family, to your parents, to your children, to your sister, to your spouse, your husband, your loved one. Everything is a co-creation. It's an exchange of energy. What you put into it, the intention that you put into it, whether the big intention for you is time and commitment, or it's financial resources and an investment, or just the intention of curiosity and giving it space, that's the energy required in order for something to shift. Nothing shifts if you just have a thought. A thought is not enough to shift something. It requires commitment and the embodiment of the change you wish to seek. It's the intention and the willingness to live as the person you're becoming versus who you've been. That's a good quote, that one right there. Bringing your energy and awareness on the person you're becoming, not who you've been. I know you've been wounded. We all have. We all have stories. I've heard hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories, and I have my own painful experiences. We get to choose how to transmute that. We get to choose what to do with that. And oftentimes, the thing that's been holding us back the most is the thing that we're here to receive. The thing that's holding you back the most is the thing you're here to receive. Because what you're seeking is seeking you, according to Rumi. Dropping all kinds of little nuggets of wisdom here. I'm sitting in just full awe of just the power and the grace and the beauty of women when they really choose to show up, not even knowing what they're getting themselves into. Many of the women who showed up to our retreat didn't even know what they were getting themselves into. They basically just trusted me. I sold out the retreat in 3 days back in May, and we hosted the retreat in September. They trusted me, and they were open and willing, and they showed up open and willing, and they went deep, and they got vulnerable, and they shed skin, and they released a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of resentment. It was beautiful. Because when you do that, when you release that, well, first of all, it's really good for your physical health because there's not stagnation. All of these emotions can get trapped inside of our physical bodies and cause dis-ease, can cause discomfort. Right? I'm not saying that this will miraculously cure any physical dis-ease in your body, but it definitely helps. Seeing it happen over and over again. Women left feeling lighter, stronger, more confident, happier, more joyful, more fulfilled, more just, it was just amazing. You know, just the stories that we carry, that we have been through. Nasty, horrible divorces, betrayal in marriage, betrayal in friendship. Sometimes even the feeling of being betrayed by God, because how could this all happen to me? Why me? And so that's where the connection comes in. When you know, when you own, and you deeply give yourself permission to be connected to the life around you, when you start showing up, paying attention, living each day with intention, having some sort of morning routine, but not doing it, being it. One of the girls in our retreat last weekend was sharing, the intention of like, even just washing your face or putting lotion on, how it could be like done in gratitude, or it can be like just, slapping it on and getting it done just to get it done because you have to. Like, there's such a difference. Every time you choose to invest your money in something, as I was finishing the retreat and writing the check to both my co-facilitator and the place where we hosted the event, just really tapping into that gratitude for the space and all that was provided so that we could have that opportunity, because the opportunity was life-changing. So the question is, what are you giving yourself permission to give space to so that you can have more connection. Because what happens when we don't have connection? We feel uncertain. We feel confused. We feel abandoned. We feel disconnected. We feel overwhelmed. And overwhelm and busyness are really great survivor strategies, because as long as we're doing those, we don't have time to be connected. We don't have time to be connected to the people we love or even ourselves. Sometimes we're even working out without actually even being present to what we're giving our body in the moments of working out. Like, that's an opportunity to shift. So I want to invite you to just consider, like, what areas of my life am I really not showing up fully present? What areas of my life am I feeling disconnected? What would it look and feel like if I had more of that feeling of connection to those things in my life? How would I feel? What would shift? What would change for me? What would I ask for? Oftentimes women don't even know what to ask for. They don't even know what they need because they're so disconnected to themselves, because they've been spending all of their energy taking care of everybody else. So I know we've covered a lot. So if you're listening, I thank you for listening all the way through to the end. This is important stuff. This is important work. It's necessary, and it can also be fun. We have a lot of joy and fun in our retreats and in my group coaching programs. Like, it's important to know that we embody the full human experience, and joy is one of the highest vibrations. So if we're going to spend time navigating the shame and regret, well, we're better spend at least twice as much time in the joy and the acceptance and the peace, because everything's a choice. So the connection that we seek is seeking us. The very thing that we think we're missing, we already are. We just have to be willing to look inside and see it. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear how this landed from you. Does this resonate with you? What questions do you have around this? Where are you feeling stuck in your life when it comes to feeling disconnected? Because it's painful. It's so painful to feel disconnected. We numb our bodies with alcohol or overworking out or work or busyness or overeating or not eating enough or over planning. There's so many ways which we check out and disconnect. And what might be possible if you started leaning in and just being super present and connected in your life. When my 16-year-old daughter decided she was going to leave home 2 years early, I mean, nobody wants that. Nobody wants their kid to leave 2 years early, even though it's an amazing opportunity for her. I had this really good sense of just knowing that I did as much as I could to be present for her. I didn't do it all right. There's a few things I missed out on that I would have probably done differently, but for the most part, I felt okay letting her go because I know that I was setting the intention to be present for her and that she felt loved and she felt supported, and that was really all I could ask for. I always told my husband when we were going to have kids, at first it was important that their education was great, and then we had so many health challenges. It was all I wanted was healthy kids, and then, somewhere around, I guess maybe 8 or 9, all I really wanted was to raise kids that I enjoyed hanging out with, and I've done that, and it feels really, really good. It feels super good to know that if I empower and mentor and coach women in my life, that there's nobody that I want to see thrive more than my own 2 girls, and that they're doing that. So it feels good to just know that the embodiment of the work is where it's at, and I'm just super grateful. I'm super grateful for each of you, your willingness to listen in on this podcast year after year, month after month, week after week. And if you're interested in joining any of the group programs that we have going on, Our next retreat is going to be on the Big Island of Hawaii in March. It's in a beautiful, beautiful house on the Big Island. And that retreat is really for the women who are in the program Creatrix and Prosperity. So for the women who are ready to bring their vision forth into the world, to embody and activate their gifts, and to welcome in abundance in health, wealth, and love by bringing forth their vision. We also have the 6-month North Star Collective, which will be starting up again in the end of September. That also includes a small intimate retreat through the 12 pillars of soul illumination, which we have a podcast on. So we'll link that podcast, 12 Pillars of Soul Illumination, in the notes as well. And then we also have just the 3-month prosperity course for those seeking to heal their relationship with money and creating more financial freedom in their life, because especially as women, in the collective time that we're living right now, it's super important for us to own our worth and amplify our voices in the world by receiving financial abundance through our work, putting our visions forth, and just creating positive change in the world. So we identify money origin story, we identify money saboteurs, we get into the depth of the art of receiving, the embodiment of the vibration of wealth and prosperity, and so much more. So we'll drop those links in the show notes, and if you're just looking for something really gentle, of course, we have the daily devotion and 13 moons journaling experience where you are given prompted daily journals. I guess I should say daily journal prompts, that makes sense. And then we meet monthly on every new moon for some new moon reflection and intention setting, and then we have 4 seasonal workshops, planning workshops. It's really great to facilitate gentle healing and also keep balance and accountability in our personal lives and goals, and also professional lives and goals. So we'll drop all those links in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Aloha.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Hello, friends, and thank you so much for joining again each week on the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast, formerly the Embodied Healing Self Podcast. I am so deeply honored to share this space with you every week. I know that there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and our community is expanding and growing more with each new episode. I'd like to invite you to come on over to jenmons.com/tribe and receive some of the wonderful gifts that we have for you. A meditation bundle, energetic alignment, 5-element wealth, prosperity consciousness. We have a ton of different gifts available for you to enjoy. Now, we have one small favor to ask. In order for this podcast to get into the hearts and souls of like and light-minded people, we need your support. We would love your review, and would love it if you'd head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review or leave one on iTunes so that we can continue to share the love beyond out into the world. Thank you so much again for joining in. We'll see you next week.